Well, hello! Welcome back to my channel. Just Shauna here to talk about some friggin' books. I just filmed, and I don't know when it's going up, but I just filmed books that make me jazzed, or books that still make me jazzed. And now I'm gonna talk about books that still make me rage when I think about them. There's quite a few books over the years that I have read and not necessarily loved. There's even books that I have DNF'd that I don't really have that many feelings about. But then there are some, either that I've DNF'd or just rated really low, that I still just, I get like, enraged about, or I get like annoyed when I think about them. This is gonna be full of spoilers, I'm sure, because I'm gonna have to talk about like what I hated so much about these. I'll have timestamps down below for the books that I'm talking about. So if there's one that you've already read and you just wanna hear my thoughts about, you can just skip ahead. And then if there's one that you haven't read, you can skip on over it. The first book I'm going to talk about is Everything, Everything by Nicola Yoon. Oh my God. I read this right when I joined BookTube, and I don't love YA contemporary anyway, you guys know this. But more often than not when I read YA contemporary, I'm not the target audience, and the characters annoy me, and I know they're teenagers and they're being teenagers, and when I was a teenager, I was probably like that, and I probably would have loved these books because I've been like, this is my life. But now, as a 33-year-old lady, I'm just like, you guys are annoying, and ugh. But Everything, like, genuinely pissed me off. I was actually okay with the book through the whole book. I was kind of like, it's a little, whatever, their little romance. It was a little insta-lovey and overly dramatic when it didn't need to be. But again, teenagers, I've been there, I did it. So I was okay with it. But then the fucking ending. The ending of this book is trash, you guys. Like, what the fuck even? Like, what even is it? So she's sick. She basically lives in a bubble, essentially, like in her house that is just like all sanitized. Her mom makes sure, blah, blah, blah. She meets a boy. She falls in love. He's the neighbor boy. They talk. They can't touch. And they have to like touch through glass and whatever. And then eventually she decides to sneak away with him and go to Hawaii, I think, which there's a whole lot of questions wrapped up in that anyway. And then her mom's all mad. Come to find out though, that this illness she has had her whole life, her mom made it up. Her mom made up the whole thing. And I know that that's a thing. What is it called? Munchausen syndrome? Is that what it's called? When a parent imagines or makes up illnesses for their children, and it's essentially, sometimes it's a coping mechanism for other trauma in their life, to my knowledge, and sometimes it's like almost an attention, narcissistic type of thing. And in this case, the mom, her husband and son both died, I think, in a car accident, if I remember, when they were when the main character was very young. So ever since then the mom was like, oh, you have this illness. Basically just as like her coping mechanism of trying to protect her daughter because she didn't want to lose her daughter after losing her son and her husband, okay? And I get all of that. I'm not saying that fact alone was like fucked up. What's fucked up is that this was just like, okay. Like, I get that it's her mother, and I get it's the only person she's known really her whole life other than her nurse, like intimately like that, and that she relies on her for a lot. But she was like a little mad for a second, like for maybe a couple days or a couple weeks, if I remember, and she kind of talked about how like, oh, it's a little difficult. But it was very much downplayed. Like, that's fucked up. Like, that's child abuse. To me, that's like some mental and emotional abuse on a very extreme level. And I understand that the mother was dealing with her own things, but like, it made her be abusive to her daughter. And it was just way too casually like, oh, we're over it now. And I just couldn't. I was like, what the fuck is this? I was so mad. The next one I want to talk about is Carry On. I will not have nearly as much to say about this because I DNF'd this at like 30 to 50 pages, I want to say. I have never read any Rainbow Rowell, and I understood, even before I started the book, I understood that Carry On is the story in Fangirl that the main character is writing or whatever. It's like the fan fiction that main character is writing, and it's this book called Carry On. And so Carry On is that book. I get that, okay? I understand that it's this imaginary fan fiction of Harry Potter, right? Yeah. But I just don't understand why this needed to be a thing, because it read like kind of bad fan fiction. It read like kind of a shitty, not enough time and effort put into like self-published book. I am not saying that all self-published books are shitty at all. My very dear friend Elliot wrote one that is amazing and very high quality. And personally, I would think you wouldn't be able to tell that it's self-published. My thing is, though, that when people do self-publish, if they don't put that kind of time and effort and take it that seriously, if they don't put that kind of effort into it, it can be shitty. It's like a first or second draft. It'd be like if I put my book out right now that I have not put enough effort into, and I know I haven't. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. And that's how it reads. Or, like I said, bad fan fiction. Not all fan fiction is bad, but this reads like bad fan fiction. And I don't understand why everybody loves it so much. I just don't. I'm like, the dialogue was cringy and not good. Just the writing in general, was not great writing as far as a technical standpoint. I just imagine submitting that in any of my writing courses in college, and my professors would have been like, what the fuck is this? And yeah, I couldn't. That's why I only read 50 pages. I was like, I'm not gonna read an entire book with this level of writing quality. The next one is Caraval, which I actually can't remember if I DNF'd or not. I feel like I read it. This is one, though, that if I did DNF it, it was way later. It was at 60-some, maybe even 70-some percent. I feel like I did DNF it, and yes, I did, and I Googled the ending. But I got very far into it. And I think I was buddy reading it with someone, and I was really trying to make it through. And you guys know I love YA fantasy, and I love so many of the tropes that are used in YA fantasy. This one, though, it wasn't the tropes weren't done well. They were just cringy, kind of annoying. I don't even remember all of them. I just remember being here's another not well done trope. The super macho dude, I feel was a thing. Insta-love was a thing. And it just wasn't, I was not having a good time. I tried, and then towards the end, I was like, I fucking don't care anymore. The Beautiful and Damned by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Holy shit, just the worst people. Just the absolute worst characters ever. Not that they were badly written, and not even that the writing was bad at all. They were just so unlikable. That it was unbearable. Just trash humans. And up till the end, there was no... It would have been one thing if they were shitty and there was some sort of character arc and redemption arc. Yeah, F. Scott Fitzgerald was not into that at all. He did not care. He was like, nope, they're shitty, and they're still shitty. that was the book. And I raged about it for quite some time after I initially read it. And every time I think about it, I'm just like, oh yeah! Fucking hated that book. My God. Little Women by Louisa May Alcott was just so painfully boring. So painfully boring. I grew up watching the old Little Women movie, not the one with who the fuck? I don't know. There was a newer one that was made I think in the 90s or something. Not that one. The one from I don't know, the 50s maybe. I loved that movie. Thoroughly loved it. It would get me in my feels, my emotions. It was such a cute little story. I loved these girls. I wanted to be Jo. So excited to read the book. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna finally do it. It's really big, but I was like, I bet there's so much more to it. No, there's not. It's so big because it's full of them sitting around knitting and their chores for the day and talking to the neighbor about nothing relevant to the plot whatsoever. And it was just so drawn out. And for a lot of people, they think that stuff is cute and quaint and charming. I did not. I was, no, so very boring. Did I DNF that too? Pretty sure I did. The Red Queen by, who's it by? Victoria Aveyard. This is a perfect example of something I really hate. And that is, we have a character who's very street smart, very savvy. You know, they're wise to the ways of the world and how people are and how people are shitty. And we're told in the book all of these things, and we see it. We see them being this way and that way and whatever way. And I don't remember the characters' names. There's the main character, the chick. And then she ends up in the palace because she has like the special blood or whatever the hell. And one of the princes is very obviously being manipulative and lying to her and just working her, essentially. And she immediately falls for it. Immediately. And like I said, it's incredibly obvious. I mean, obviously as the reader, you know, but even what was happening on the page and the things he would say to her and his behavior, I'm like, you are supposed to be so smart and street smart and whatever. This is all just textbook bullshit. It just infuriated me. I think I read the book and I might have started the second one. Maybe I did. I don't even remember. I read that book though, and I remember it just, that stuck with me. I just hate that. Darkdawn is the next one, and I won't go too much into it because this one's very recent. But man, it's still just, it's gonna irritate me for a long time, I think. I'm keeping Nevernight, because that one I had just the paperback of, and I really loved Nevernight. Like, I loved Nevernight. The footnotes, the sarcasm, the freaking talking cat, shadow cat, whatever, all that shit, it was like right up my alley. Thoroughly enjoyed it. God's Grave I didn't like as much, but it was like fine, it was good. I still, you know, I'm with it. I'm with the series, want to see how the series ends. And then it ended, and it ended, in my opinion, badly. Just a cop-out, and the writing, the authorial voice got really sarcastic and snotty and not enjoyable for me at all, not funny at all, just like rude kind of, and almost childish, like immature. Like, let me yell at my readers and people who don't like me in the book. Like, what? It was just, rubbed me all the wrong ways. So I'm getting rid of God's Grave and Darkdawn, and I'm keeping Nevernight, the paperback, because I'll probably reread that, and just when I continue, I'll just have in my own headcanon of what actually happened in the book. And the final one, that every time I think about this book, I just get mad. And I think too, because so many people love it. And I mean, that's with a lot of these. People love these books, and so whenever I hear someone saying like how amazing it is, you know, I have friends that love these, and I have friends that hate books that I love, and you know, there's no like shade or anything. But when people are like, oh my God, it's one of my favorite books, I'm just like, how? I mean, you guys know the feeling. And that is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. I loved so much about that book. A lot of people took some issues with the plot, and the plot was kind of, it was whatever. But I didn't like hate the plot. I loved Felicity. I loved, the other guy, Percy. Loved Percy. These characters were great. I thought the representation was great. And then we had Monty. And God damn it if I didn't hate this character. He was the actual worst. He was an idiot. He was a jerk. He had no regard for anybody else's feelings. He was so narcissistic and wrapped up in his own shit. Even when Percy would be telling him point blank, like his experience in life, Monty just like, oh, wow, that's crazy. He just was like the epitome of someone with privilege that doesn't see that they have privilege and like almost doesn't want to see that they have privilege. They just want to keep dicking around, living their life with their privilege and being a jerk to everybody. And it was so annoying to me that Monty and Percy, their romance was like lauded as this great. It was, again, I like that there was the representation, but I don't like that it was representation of someone in like a toxic, unhealthy relationship. You know, like Percy deserved so much better than Monty. Like, light years better than Monty. Percy is an amazing person. And then he had to be with this shitball, and I just couldn't, ugh. I wanted to continue on with the series because the next book is all about Felicity, but then I've heard pretty much nothing good about that book. So I'm just kind of going to stay away. And yeah, I get enraged every time I think about stupid Monty. So there we have it. I'm done raging now. And let me know in the comments below if you agree with any of my rage points, or if I have just offended you to your core because you love some of these books. I'm so sorry. I'm sure there's books that you hate that I love. So, you know, we're even. It's fine. As always, I appreciate your guys' time, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.